West, y'all.
They still got 6 spots left, I believe, to fill. So, yeah, I suppose that's another thing. I'm really just interested in where the players they've come from, and if they've got any, like you mentioned, any of the Samoan or Tongan internationals. So that will be good to see. But the fact that they've got 30 players, I think that's a step forward. I mean, anyone who listens to me on the podcast will know that I was a fan of Kanaloa, and that was the bid that I was backing. But obviously they didn't get in, and this is the team that we got. So I'll be fully supporting Moana Pasifika because that's better than no team, I'll tell you that. As a fan of Polynesian rugby, we haven't had a team, a professional club team or franchise team ever since rugby's been professional for over 25 years now. So the fact we've got one team, it's not the team that I wanted, but we'll take it. And I'll back them 100%. So, you've got any other thoughts? Or we'll talk about Kanaloa a little bit after and just where to next for them. But just any other thoughts on Moana Pasifika and the team that's through, that's been coming through and the bid they
Yeah,
won?
I got the same stance as you on that one, Stace, where Kanaloa was the team that I wanted in there because it meant we had more control, actually full control over the team, rather than bits and bobs with different organisations. But like you say, they are the team that has been selected and are in there in the Super Rugby. Them along with Drua, I'll be supporting. So it will be interesting to see the caliber of players in various positions that they have earmarked for this particular squad. And I wonder when they're actually going to release the names of the team list, the squad list, and how they're going to select, a run-on team each week. So it'd be interesting to see what kind of setup they have, what their plan is around injuries and interchanges and what have you, and through the season whether they're going to actually be competitive. You've got I think Aaron Major, correct me if I'm wrong, is the head coach. So obviously
Okay.
he's a great.
I'm not sure. I've missed that announcement.
I think he's a great rugby head. I might be wrong, but I think that's what I remember hearing, is that Aaron Major has put his name forward for the coaching role. Again, that's our team. We'll back them. At the same time, it's like, I think the point to note is what we did with Kanaloa and questioning everything that went on in the background with the selection or the bringing together of this concept, which is now the reality of a team called Moana Rugby, Moana Pasifika. I think now those organisations like NZRPA and NZ Rugby are now aware that we won't just sit back and let it be as it might have been in the past. We actually will question everything. So I think that in itself will help these bureaucrats, if you like, think twice about giving us the raw deal.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So that is one of the positives to come out of it. So I remember, the idea of having a Pacific team in Super Rugby isn't a new idea. It's been around since basically Super Rugby started. So that's 25 odd years. And New Zealand Rugby has always come forward. And I brought this up when we talked to Tracy Artinga, who's the CEO of Kanaloa. New Zealand Rugby has always said, "Oh, it's not financially viable. There's these reasons why they can't get a team in." And then Tracy comes in and she says, "All your reasons are all eats. Don't worry about the funding. It's not financially viable. We can sort out the funding. The players aren't good enough. Don't worry about that. We can sign all the players." And all those excuses got thrown out. And then straight away, once all those excuses got thrown out and they got exposed, New Zealand Rugby, those excuses were all eats. they were able to come up with another bid on the spot with Moana Pasifika. So I mean, that's one positive. all those things, someone questioned it, and then they've come up with their own bid. So definitely positive there. And I just wanted, just for our listeners out there, so I did say before that I was a Kanaloa supporter, and that was a big part of the reason why. I just wanted to clarify my response, just in case anyone's listening, thinking, what did you like about Kanaloa? Well, Moana Pasifika is funded by New Zealand Rugby, so they get a big say in who gets recruited. They've got a big say in their 80% of 80% of Polynesian eligible neutral. That was, I think, that was one of the clauses they wanted, and 20% of guests of whoever they want. And those all came about. They can put those stipulations in because they've come up with the funding. But Kanaloa, they were able to come up with their own money. They didn't need any New Zealand Rugby grants or anything like that to get it over the line. So because they were able to come up with their own money, they could come up with their own things. They wanted 100% all Polynesian players, and they didn't have to bow down to New Zealand Rugby's, I guess, rules because they didn't have any of their funding. So that was why I wanted Kanaloa. It didn't get over the line, and Moana Pasifika is the team that we got. So I think we're going to jump in behind them and hope they go well. But yeah, I think Kivi's involved, and it sounds like he's doing some great things. The fact that if they've got 30 players over the line, I mean that's something to get that over done quite quickly. If Aaron Major's the coach, then that's another good thing. So it looks to be coming together nicely, and we'll just follow that story through because we've followed it through from the start, and we've been one of the podcasts who have really tried to bring that content to you. But mate, Joy, have you got anything else you want to add on Moana Pasifika Kanaloa? We did have a question for you, but I'll let you speak.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to add on Moana Pasifika?
Yeah, just quickly, coming from a different angle, I think it all comes down to not just control, but who has broadcasting rights. So who can do the deals with the broadcasters? That's where it all comes into. And that's where I feel like NZ Rugby have strong armed the situation and put together the right people in place who represent us to make this a reality. I think they made some smart moves there in getting Pasifika representatives in the Moana Pasifika organisation who represent us, who can help them with their agenda. And I wholeheartedly believe that New Zealand Rugby's agenda isn't necessarily about the growth of Moana or Pasifika Rugby. It's more about broadcasting rights, because at the end of it all, that revenue from the broadcasting deals comes back to where? Doesn't come back to Samoa Rugby Union, Tonga Rugby Union, Fiji Rugby Union. Comes back to the New Zealand Rugby Union. They get to control where that gets divided out to. That gets divided out to New Zealand Rugby. So the question on my mind will be, until I have solid answers, it will be, how does Samoa Rugby Union, Fiji Rugby Union, and Tonga Rugby Union benefit from Moana Pasifika? So we'll keep questioning that. We'll keep tabs. We'll keep watching. We'll keep supporting. But we'll keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, and I know that we've actually heard those questions being asked from Selala Mapuso, who's the coach of Whatamanu, and Totai Kifu was the coach of Tongan rugby team. They've both had asked those same questions. So I think that's going to be the next step. Is hopefully if we can see someone coming through, playing really well for Moana Pasifika, and then graduating to the national side of one of these Pacific teams, then we can say, hey, look, this is a success, and this is a pathway for them. So that's what I suppose that's what we all hope happens next. But mate, I know that you have a bit of a close relationship with some of the people at Kanaloa. So I just want to ask you, I'm not sure if you could actually answer this, to be fair, but where to next for Kanaloa? Now that they didn't get the Super Rugby bid, and do you have any thoughts on what they might do or where they might go,
I
or
think
what their future plans might be?
I think they will hang tight. Like, they will wait out this first season, this inaugural season for Moana Pasifika, and see how that goes and see whether or not there's an opportunity after this initial season for them and draw for another team to enter into the mix, either in the place of one of those two or in addition. Um, who knows? The Sansa or whoever it is, the governing body that runs Super Rugby these days, they may decide at the end of this 2022 season that they want more teams in there, which would then present another opportunity for Kanaloa to throw their hat in again. So I guess we'll see, but I don't know anything solid in terms of certain next steps for them. But my guess would be that they would ride out this first season in Super Rugby for Moana and Drua and see what they want to do then. They may even go to the MLR.
Yep.
Like what we have here. Well.
Kia ora.
Well,
Oh,
kia ora, we just welcome our county's Manukau resident supporter, Rog. Better late than never, Rog. Mate, how's it going, brother?
Hey, kia ora. Yeah. Sorry, I was watching Celebrity Treasure. I totally forgot.
Wow.
I thought I was going to see
Come on,
Joey
mate.
Ngai,
Priorities, mate.
the mayor of Hamilton, but...
Hey, we're just talking about Moana Pasifika, so I'm not sure if you heard the announcement, but they've announced the signing of 30 players. So they haven't really given any details in regards to who, but I mean, that's a big step forward. So I know that you've got good relationship with Kevin seeing you is the what's he, the general manager there? So I just want to get your thoughts on that before we move on to some international stuff. 30 players from Moana Pasifika.
Yeah, looking forward to how they progress in the real Super Rugby campaign this year, real competition. Last year and the year before has been a bit Mickey Mouse, especially with that last competition that towards the back end of last year, where the Blues apparently, were able to shake the 18 years without a title. But, I remember them getting some sort of a club championship title for the club tennis side title once upon a time in Brisbane somewhere. But, anyway, title's a title. And so, but I'm looking forward to how Moana Pasifika not only fair in this competition, but like everyone else, a bit curious as to who the signings are. I didn't realise that, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see who's in the roster, how many players are generally from the Northern Hemisphere who normally ply their trade there, and how many local players, however local is going to be defined in this scenario, because Moana Pasifika is going to be an Auckland-based franchise and garnered by, obviously there was a lot of interest from trying to get as many local players from within the New Zealand franchises as they already exist, as well as how many are going to be coming from the Tonga, the Samoa rugby unions, and whether there's any Fijian flavour, because we also know that there's going to be the draw side from Fiji in the super competition as well. Yeah, but I'm just in the dark about it, like as everyone else, as to who some potential signings would be. But I think one of the worst kept secrets is probably Sekupe Kepu. Again, I'm just speculating. He was, he returned back to where it all began for him in Country's Manukau this year, signed again, for them this year, and he hasn't played for them since 2006, 2007, since leaving these shores to pursue international, ambitions and playing for the Wallabies. Before that, the Waratahs. So, and Nili Latu. See, I saw he featured for Counties Manukau in their very first game. Is it, is Nili Latu in the mix? Is he part of that roster? I don't know, because there was a lot of talk about Sekupe Kepu taking up one of the spots that could have been potentially for a New Zealand-based player or a New Zealand eligible player. Yet Sekupe Kepu, that's a bit of a marquee signing, not only for Counties Manukau for this season, but I guess there's a bit of a long term. Even though he's well past his best, there'll be will remain to be seen. But a lot of experience that he can bring to a franchise that's just kicking off. So the likes of Nili Latu and Sekope Kipu could be in the mix there just to help sort of steady the ship for the franchise as they had their maiden season in Super Rugby.
Yeah,
Just two
it's
that I can think of.
interesting. It's interesting they haven't announced the names. It better not just be, oh, we signed a couple of guys from Waitemata or something like that, so we don't want to say anything, but hopefully
I
some
guess,
decent guys.
but I guess it would be like because have the New Zealand teams announced who they have for next year?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all the teams have been fulfilled already, but that was done before Moana Pasifika received their license. So I think, they started behind the eight ball. If they've got 30 people over the line, that's a pretty good achievement. So,
Yeah.
I just did want to ask you, Rog, will you be a Moana Pasifika supporter
I've
as
already,
of Polynesian descent?
I already purchased one of the jerseys. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I purchased one. I purchased one prior to the that Moana Pasifika game versus the Māori All Blacks. So yeah. I think it was just more. I just wanted to have their very first jersey. I remember when the Blues got, when they first won their championships back in 96, 97. Oh, am I saying this out loud? Um, I always sort of I like that very first initial jersey that they had, and you don't see that around that much. You only see the ones that sort of followed from the 98 season and beyond, but you never really see the 96 jersey. That 96 jersey was a one off, and the only other place that I've seen the Johnny Ngawamu jersey a few years ago, and he came on as a replacement, and someone was actually, it might have been passed down through family, but then the other jersey that I've seen from 1996 was at the medical sports clinic at the university, Colin Maiden. I don't know what that medical clinic is called these days, but yeah, there's just one in there, just being with all the signatures, but the original 96 jersey. And I haven't really seen any other person wear it or it displayed anywhere else. But so I just wanted to be in quick to get the original Moana Pasifika. It might be different this year to what it was last year. Who knows? But I guess this year's will be the official Super Moana Pasifika jersey.
okay. So Chiefs finished last in Super Rugby Trans Tasman, and then you go by Moana Pasifika jersey, is it? Sweet as.
No. You're
Oh,
reading too
come
much
on, mate.
into it. You're reading too much into it.
No, but that's good. I'm glad that we're all supporters because Joey, we sort of talked off here. There were some people who were, they felt that the Moana Pasifika wasn't the sort of the team they wanted or didn't fulfill the obligations that they hoped for, and they're sort of not really getting behind it. But I think if you have that mentality that any team's better than no team, which is what we've had, then just
Mm.
jump on board. So I hope they get good support. I'll say that at least. It could be a tough uphill battle for them in their first season, but if they can get some good support out there, out at I think Mount Smart,
Mount
I'll
Smart.
have to refresh. Yeah, out at Mount Smart, COVID permitting, and that'll be good for them in their maiden season. I'll say that for sure.
They might get a whole lot of Warriors supporters wanting to support a winning team at Mount Smart. So
Oh,
who
here we
knows?
go.
Who
Here we
knows?
go. Okay.
I think it's quite clever, that they've got Mount Smart as the place where they've made their home. But I think that's because of the population of supporters that they can reach to, which
Mm,
they will have to find a way to reach out to the MMT demographic and get a
Mm.
lot of that bunch because they will support if they know the Tongan Rugby Union are involved in some way,
mm.
which is
Yeah, I like that
questionable
call.
at this present time.
And
Yeah, it
speaking
is,
of
but
Tongan,
it's a
another
good call.
Tongan that comes to mind is Sona Tomalolo. I hear he's back in the
Of
mix
course he is.
somewhere. You know. And
Of
who knows?
course.
If Naholo, if Waisake Naholo doesn't um, make the mark with either the Crusaders or Highlanders, could he be another inclusion in that 20% that have already played for New Zealand and who are not eligible for any of the Pacific nations? Does a Waisake Naholo come into play there where, you got some of these guys who haven't played for the All Blacks in a couple of seasons? Do they become um, part of the team that they're looking for and part of the guys that they want to get across the line in terms of roster? So I guess we'll see who the playing 30 is, the squad.
Well, when you're building a franchise from scratch, right, you need to have those experienced guys, those leaders who will help to set a new culture. So Sikope
Mm.
Kipu, I think that's be a great signing. Nili Latu's another guy who I think he who could be a good one in that type of frame of a leader who can help to build a team. So yeah, it'll be interesting. The guys that you've mentioned are all sort of leaders in their own right. So it could be a good
There's
place
Yeah,
to
from a
start.
Manu
But
Samoa perspective,
it's
could
funny.
be Junior Polu Linganga. He was practicing his passes on Facebook the
Yes,
other day, so
yes,
he's still on the
yes,
mark. Still gets the mark there, hits the mark. So JP could be on standby.
yes. There's him, and there's also I noticed in the NPC, Jack Lamb is back
oh
See,
for
that's
yes,
another
yes,
Waikato.
name. So
He's
when his
yes.
Jack
name
Lamb's
popped
back for
up,
Waikato.
does
Took
Liam
Murley,
miss him? If he doesn't get
miss
another
him.
stint with the Chiefs, does Liam miss him get a go? But then
Yes.
it's a lot of money being thrown around just for a few marquee players, eh? Mm.
Yeah, it's looking quite interesting because I was wondering where the 30 guys are going to come from. But the names that you guys have mentioned, there are guys out there that if
Mm.
Moana Pasifika tap the right guys on the shoulder, they could come up with a quality
Yeah.
team. But
Mm.
boys, have you
I
guys got
think.
anything else you want to add on that one? Oh, carry on, Joey. Yeah.
So you just need to look deeper into the current NPC
Mm.
roster to see. Oh, actually, yeah, there is 30 players here that could make this Moana Pasifika run a good one.
And it's striking that balance, getting these experienced players that we've mentioned, but then also, it's another Super Rugby franchise, all be for the Pasifika cause, but at the same time, where those players that would normally miss out on the five franchises, you've now got this other team where you can um, blood some of these players who have never played at that next level, who have just been loitering around, especially at NPC, and they just seem to like hit the ceiling there and just float between NPC and club rugby, as well as the odd appearance in the wider training squad for Super. So, do they entertain that and bringing some of these other emerging players through, who could then qualify for that 80% of being eligible for a Pacific Island nation, or who have already, um, you know, given their allegiance to New Zealand or any other international team, in the form of sevens or 15s. So yeah, it'll be an interesting look at the makeup of what should be an exciting squad, I believe, and it should add a really good flavour to and a new dimension to a sort of not, I wouldn't say mundane super competition, competition that sort of, you know needs a bit of oomph and a little bit of a kick just to reinvigorate the Super Rugby that we fell in love with back in the 90s and early 2000s. Seeing those crowds as well.